those are your staples, and they're staples for a reason. Like, we've been using barbells and dumbbells as weights for thousands of years as humans. Like, it's not complicated. You just got to pick something up and put it back down again. And it's like the formula's there for a reason. So you don't really need to mess with it.
Hi, welcome to the first episode of the BRIXX Fitness Podcast. I am your host, Matthew Williamson. I am an exercise scientist and have been in the industry for 10 years. And I own a gym called Central Coast Strength and Conditioning, which I started in my garage while I was at university. And over 10 years have scaled it up, and we've moved to bigger and bigger facilities. And now I work with a lot of state, national, international athletes, as well as helping local people in my area with their strength and rehabilitation. And today I'm bringing on a guest on behalf of BRIXX, Vanessa Leone, who is a master trainer, movement therapist, and fitness coach. Welcome, Vanessa. How you doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm great.
Awesome. Well, today what we're going to be talking about is essential versus non-essential gym equipment in a home gym. And what me and Vanessa discussed when we were planning this was thinking about not only what equipment is necessary, but also what are some tips we would give our clients as coaches to help maximize our home gym. So for me personally, and I'll let Vanessa tell her own story, but for me personally, I started my business in my garage, and that was what the first 2 years of my business was like. I trained out of my garage, I trained my clients out of my garage, and I came to the conclusion to do that because it was cost effective and made the business run smoother. But I also recognize that actually what really matters when it comes to getting results for clients, everything I was learning at university and stuff, there was no mention of big fancy equipment, no mention of big fancy gyms or anything like that. What mattered to get clients results was actually about the method and the process and really immersing into a lifestyle to achieve those goals. And I know me and Vanessa are similar in that mind. So today we're going to talk about essential versus non-essential gym equipment. And then we're going to talk about how you can maximize the essential gym equipment that you do get. So if you ever feel like building a home gym is a mix of excitement and overwhelming choices, and if you could strip away the clutter and focus on what really makes a difference, today Vanessa is here to cut through the noise and help us build a home gym that works not just for your space, but also for your life. So Vanessa, welcome. And do you want to give us a little background about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I feel like a bit of a veteran in the industry. I've been in the industry for about 18 years. So I started coaching girls dance when I was 16. So funnily enough, but I got my PT certs as soon as I came out of uni. I did exercise science, exercise physiology. I worked with athletes. I've worked with a whole spectrum of human beings, to be fair. And ever since I kind of stepped foot in the industry, I haven't really stepped out. And I've been a personal trainer in a big box gym. I've been a master trainer and educator for multiple countries across Australia and the US and Asia, teach at international conferences, and now I work for a big manufacturer of equipment and education. And unfortunately, I never had a home gym, but I have been into what I would call many a home gym with the jobs that I've had, particularly over COVID. I think that was that was a definite step into, like, let's just makeshift people's kitchens into a home gym. But definitely going into a lot of my clients' homes and a lot of clients who purchase equipment and getting to see their home gyms and their setup. I kind of deal specifically with the client's needs. So how are you best going to get the use out of it? What do you want for your goals? What do you want for your long-term, short-term goals? And, you know, what are the barriers for you to utilize this equipment usefully? I have a lot of range of experience in a bunch of different goals when it comes to training with disability all the way through to performance. So I think that it's interesting. We could probably delve into that a little bit if you wanted to, if you had a slightly different goal, how that gym setup might look a little differently as well.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. I think why this topic matters is because a lot of people, they're looking to save time. I think one of the motivations behind setting up a home gym, I notice it's definitely, I think it sways towards people who are very busy, especially the parents, maybe parents who commute. That's where the home gym becomes very attractive. You know, they can have their kids at home, they're at home, there if anything happens, but they can also achieve that goal of getting a workout in. So it's about saving time. I think for some people, it's about creating comfort, and also tying into both is making fitness work on their terms. I think that's the main motivation behind people setting up like home gyms. When I've had clients talk about wanting to set up a gym at home opposed to joining a local gym, those are some of the big things that they do mention. So if you're someone and you're thinking, look, I think a home gym is going to suit me better, it's going to allow me to make fitness work on my terms, and you're on a mission to set that gym, you think about, okay, I'm not going to have to wait for any more machines. I have to get small talk with people who I know outside of the gym, like maybe at work or a social event or whatever. You're trying to stay in the zone, or just want to have a few like creature comforts when you're exercising, watching your own music. You want to wear the daggy old shirt. The equipment is not only available right now, but it's exactly where you left it and it's there ready to go again. I think that's the dream when people talk about setting up a home gym. They're the kind of the extras sprinkled on top, as well as making it work on their terms.
My name is Daniel, and I'm the founder of BRIXX Fitness. I founded BRIXX because, like many of you, I was frustrated by the lack of high-quality, affordable gym equipment when setting up my home gym. I knew there had to be a better way, and that's how BRIXX was born. From day one, BRIXX has followed a simple philosophy. Our mission is to provide premium, high-performance gym equipment at an affordable price. What started in my garage has grown into a nationwide brand, supplying top-tier fitness equipment to home gyms, PT studios, commercial facilities, and even Bunnings Warehouse. It's been an incredible journey, and I'd love for you to be part of it.
When someone's undertaking this project, where do you think people should start in terms of equipment that is essential and equipment that is non-essential for designing a home gym?
Yeah, it definitely comes back to your goals for sure. But I think a lot of people, when they're looking at the home gym, they get excited by the bells and the whistles. Like you said, they get excited, they go into, they start looking at equipment and they're like, oh, look at all these fancy things that all this equipment can do. And they forget that, if you have been a gym goer before and you're now setting up your regular gym, what do you actually do at the gym? Like, that's probably the first question that you need to ask yourself is what do you actually consistently do? What's the equipment that you consistently go to? Because that will shape what you do. Home gym for me is all about habits. So if you're a habitual gym goer, then you could potentially be a little bit more creative with what you're getting into your gym, because you might want a little bit more variability. We could talk about squat rack and dumbbells and bands and a bench, or if you have the luxury of a cable machine, I think that's probably like my go-to for the scope of exercises that you could do with it. But at the end of the day, if you go to the gym and just grab a pair of dumbbells and go and hide in the corner, and that's all you do, well, you don't really need to deck out your gym with the latest, Peloton bike and a treadmill and all these fancy, other bits and pieces, because at the end of the day, they're unlikely to be used. They're going to sit there in the corner and gather dust. So that would be my first question to someone listening. What do you do? Like, what do you consistently do at the gym, and what's important for you at your home gym? I mentioned a few things there. I have a couple of clients with I've seen some pretty epic home gym setups, some pretty epic ones. But the home gym that I regularly train, like the entire family out of, literally has a squat rack, a bench, well, actually has two benches, but a bench, a bike, a Swiss ball, varied dumbbells, a couple of barbells, and we have like a band system from, am I allowed to say brands on here? I don't even know.
Yeah.
I won't say the brand, but it's like a whole bunch of different like colored bands, so lots of different resistances, and you can just tie it up to the squat rack, and it kind of acts like a makeshift cable machine.
Nice.
And honestly, the scope of exercises, different types of intensities that you can train at, and goals that you can train for within that setup is huge. Like it's really vast. And that's not a really super expensive setup either.
Yeah. I actually love the point that you made there with working backwards from what you like to do and what your goals are. Because my philosophy is to work backwards from your goals. I think one of my hesitations when someone says they're going to open start their own home gym is in for a penny, in for a pound, right? So if you're going to train for strength, don't buy, a 10 kilo kettlebell and a 6 kilo kettlebell and call it a day. It's day one, you're going to run out of weights. I think when people talk about essential versus non-essential, taking your advice and saying, well, how do I like to train? What do I like to use? But most of all, what are your goals? And work backwards from there. It might be better to have a barbell and 140 kilos worth of plates available if your goal is strength, because that's going to give you a lot of versatility. Let's say you're squatting or deadlifting 140 for reps. Well, great. Now you can move on to like reverse lunges. Now you can walk onto barbell walking lunges. You can do single leg barbell RDLs. You can attach to a landmine and do things there. You do hip thrusts, of course. So you don't want to, I think sometimes with my clients that set up home gyms, they just don't go all the way with it. If you're going to set up a home gym, what is your goal? What do you like to train for? And make sure you are stacked, because that's going to really help with motivation. And that's going to really help with you being able to actually achieve your goal. Because and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but one of the difficulties with home gyms, I think, is motivation. For me, for
sure.
Some people, they smash it. They're just super disciplined. They're wired that way. For me, I'm very situational psychology. So when I was at university, I had 20 minutes from university, and I realized that it was actually more efficient for me to drive the 20 minutes to uni, because the 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back, 40 minutes of my time. If I was like, nah, I'll save 40 minutes and study at home, 1 hour later, I haven't even started. I'm just procrastinating, because I don't get into the zone to work and to train at home. So when I had my home gym starting my business, I still had a membership at Anytime Fitness. And the two reasons for that was because it was my place to go and to get into the zone there. But at home, I just couldn't get into the zone. And the one thing that helped me change that was I stacked my gym up with the essentials, but enough to achieve my goal of training. So I was like, okay, I've now got 250 kilos worth of plates. I can actually now use this all the way when I'm training. I can actually keep squatting. I can keep focusing on my strength. I can keep focusing on building up because I've got all these weights and I can keep going up. Whereas I find sometimes with my clients, they're at home gym, they're motivated, and things are going really well. And I'm like, you know what, guys, you proved me wrong. This home gym is working out just fantastic for you. I eat my words. But then the highest dumbbell is 15 kilos. And now they're not seeing the returns. And they're like, well, could I just do more with the 15? It's like, well, your goal is strength, or your goal is to build muscle. I think you're going to have to invest in more equipment. And I think that's something that when it comes to essential, non-essential, people should think about is, well, how all in are we going to go on this?
Yeah.
Sorry, you go.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think that's super important, because at the end of the day, if you don't have the creativity in terms of being able to think about different exercises and ways to create challenge with a smaller amount of weights or a smaller space, that's already going to be a limitation. And that's why, you bring it back to your goals and you bring it back to what you're already doing, because if you are using a large amount of equipment or heavy equipment at the gym, then you're probably going to want to replicate that as much as possible. But at the end of the day, if you're going to invest in a space that is your space, that you want to train in it, you might also want to invest in someone who can take you through and be creative with solutions in that. I think a lot of people just buy equipment for their home gym and they kind of put it together themselves, and they don't actually talk to a coach or a trainer or something like that. Someone who can come into the space with them and say, oh, hey, I'm thinking about putting, a rack there or a bike there or whatever it might be. And your trainers and coaches have been in gyms and have utilized layouts and understand what you need for space and what you need to do things, and can really help you look at your space and kind of go, oh, that makes sense to put that there, or that makes sense to not put that there, and move it around. And, you know, I've been into a lot of home gyms that were laid out 10 times better sometimes than an actual gym. And then vice versa as well. I've been into some gyms, and I'm like, I don't understand why there's all this random stuff everywhere, because it's not going to get utilized. And I think it, like you said, it comes back to the goal. It comes back to what you want to do. But also, if you're going to invest, make sure that investment is worthy. Have someone there who, if you're not sure, get them to hold your hand a little bit and walk you through your goals and what they think equipment is going to be useful for you to carry that out.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I totally agree. You know, again, I guess it comes back to the in for a penny, in for a pound thing. If you're going to do this home gym, then yeah, you know, one of the things you should be investing in is in someone to help you out. I mean, that's probably the same at a commercial gym too. And actually, I can speak to this with personal experience, because I made a fantastic business move when I first started at 20 that I didn't even realize, and that was niching. I niched my market, and I had a USP, a unique selling point. Now, I didn't think of it this way at the time because I had no business experience. I just strength trained for about 5 years into my degree of exercise science, and I just saw an opportunity to make a little extra a little cash from PT, stop stacking shelves at Woolies while I studied my exercise science degree. And so I only bought strength equipment, and my business was very simple. Come see me once a week. We'll run through a day on your program, and I will give you 1, 2, 3, 4 other days on like an old Microsoft Word document to take into your commercial gym and follow it there. And I was making about $400 a week stacking shelves of Thursday nights and Sundays at Woolies. And I wanted 8 clients at $50 a client. That was my goal. And I think a year later, I had 30 or 35 clients at about $50, $60 a client. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the success it was having. And a lot of the clients were saying to me that they're getting phenomenal results because they're getting taught in my garage, and they're replicating that with some structure at their gym. And they're starting to look around, and they would say, I see these guys in these commercial gyms with all this equipment, and they just have no idea what they're doing. And I was like, yeah, you know, like,
exactly.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, if you are going to invest in a home gym, you want to do it right so that you've got that motivation. So the space is just right to motivate you to train in there. But you got to double down, I think, with a coach's help, because a coach is going to be able to say, this is definitely the equipment you need. This isn't the equipment you need. And also manage your expectations. This is probably how much you're going to have to spend. When someone tells me they want to be as strong as possible, you know, squat double body weight, deadlift over double body weight, bench 1.5 times body weight, you know, be jacked, be lean, be whatever. And then they just like, yeah, so I'm thinking about buying a 1 to 15 kilo adjustable dumbbell. I'm sorry, buddy. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
We are so limited from the start. And like, well, I'm going to have to spend lots of money. It's like, yeah, I got to spend lots of money and set it up. But if we choose the right equipment, the right package, and get it tailored to your goals that way, yeah, you're right. You can absolutely maximize it. My first garage gym had a power rack, a barbell, started with 160 kilos worth of weights. I think that was the package. I ended up getting up to 250. Had a leg press, a flat bench, an incline bench, 1 to 50 kilo dumbbells, and some bands. And that was 2 years. I got 2 years out of that, and I got phenomenal results for my clients. Because as you mentioned, we had the ability to guide my clients with that equipment. And because my niche was strength training, it was just so suited to my personal, my clients' needs, all my business needs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think when it comes to essential versus non-essential gym equipment, you're right. It's a tough question to just answer. You want to look at, well, what are your goals? What type of fitness do you like to do? And from there, start to think about the equipment you need. And if you want to turbocharge, you want to lock in and absolutely decide, get it just right from the start, then I think speaking to a coach like ourselves or someone in your local area, someone you trust, is going to be the way to go. And if you get a program, even better. Even better.
Yeah, and like changing that program, that's just as important, right? You can't do the same program for a year and expect to continue to see results. So you still need variability and progressive overload. You know, even if you have all of the right equipment, the same principles still apply. So it's really important that if you're not capable or confident in creating your own training programs, that you do still reach out to coaches or online coaches or whatever it is to create those training programs for you. And any online coach who's worth the salt is going to be able to tailor that program around the equipment that you have and the space that you have. And I think that that's really important when you're searching for help, as well as to ask the question about what their expertise is. Have they worked with people in home gyms before, and what that's like? Because it's a different feel when you step into, as a trainer, when you step into someone's space. It's their space, it's their home, it's their whatever. And as a coach, I don't own that stuff. It's not my equipment. I'm the one bringing my expertise to you, and so it's really like you're in charge as the client. You're in charge with what you want, what you need, and you're telling me how I can best help you. And I think it's important for anyone listening is that you want to have that stuff in your mind. You want to have that kind of knowledge behind you as you're setting up that gym, as you're continuing to get these programs and things like that, because that'll continue to help motivate you and drive results.
Yeah, I totally agree. In your time coaching and going into people's gyms, and I guess for my time coaching clients who decide to set up their own home gyms, what do you think of some of the gym purchases that people regret?
Treadmills.
Treadmills. See, a treadmill for me, actually, I like a treadmill at home. I like a treadmill at home, but yeah, I absolutely agree. Treadmills, rowers, and bikes, things like that, they just collect dust, don't they?
Yeah.
They're always available on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah. I have a very select few clients who have made great use of bikes, but I think you have to be a rider, or you have to be very, very invested in that. And, the people who have bikes at home have multiple bikes. There's several of them. I think treadmills, for what they are, they take up so much space, and they're only giving you the ability to run indoors. And at the end of the day, it's generally way better to run outside or walk outside where you can, not even just for the mental health benefits more than anything else. Just being outside and changing your vision. There's so much more research about being outside is so much better for you. So I would say, in my experience, treadmills or like something like that is probably the most overused or overbought and not used piece of equipment, I suppose.
That's an expensive one too, yeah.
And it's expensive. It's really expensive.
Yeah.
But I think, like you said as well, the other piece of equipment that doesn't get used are the like hand weights, the 2 kilo dumbbells. It's like people buy like a little pack of these like tiny little dumbbells, and they're not going to be that useful in the long term. They might be great for a bit of rehab, or maybe if you're doing like a bit of Pilates or something at home, but yet, like, there's always going to be a limit with what you can do with a couple of hand weights here and there. It's really not going to drive that much long-term gain as well. So I would probably steer clear from those nasty little coloured cheap home mini dumbbells in my experience.
Yeah. I think as well on that point, with the rehab and the Pilates one, what I don't think people realize, and it's something that I really got into a couple of years into my coaching, was someone has an injury, someone's got a bit of a pain, and I send them off to a physio. I say, look, this is not my scope. Go see a physio. Give me the physio give me some guidance on what to do here. And then the physio gives me some guidance that says shoulder. He recommends classic shoulder external rotation. Perfect. The thing I noticed about those little niche rehab exercises, and I assume it's the same in Pilates. I can't say I'm too well versed in Pilates, but I assume it's the same, is that it's very, very technique based. If I want to do a shoulder external rotation, I've got to have my elbow at 90 degrees. I can't let it roll forward, and I can't let my elbow drop down, and I can't kind of let my hand come out to the side like this. It's just not going to maximize the rotation in my shoulder, and therefore won't lead to the benefits that you're chasing. So I think some of those little weights can have a lot of benefit, but you've got to have quite good technique to isolate the muscle that you're targeting. And this comes back to, you're probably going to need a coach to show you.
And your goals.
You're going to have your goals, and you're going to have to probably just spend touch more cash on someone you trust and have them help maximize the home gym setup you have by giving you that guidance, letting you see how to structure your programs and how to execute those exercises just right. And yeah, in terms of people regret, I think the little weights are the ones that people regret. The treadmills are definitely ones. And then I think as well, where people regret it, and it comes back to the penny in for a pound thing, is when they just buy one. You know, you go into someone's garage, there's a treadmill, and it's like, oh, this is your home gym? Okay. You're so limited. It's the same workout over and over again.
Correct. Yeah.
I actually had a big, like, proper bench press setup for powerlifting. And I bought it off Facebook Marketplace. And I got there with my mate, and I was looking at the address. I look up at this apartment complex, and I was like, no way. He's on the 5th floor, man. He's on the 5th floor of this apartment complex. Got up there, and it was in his lounge room. He had a sofa, and then he had this bench press and 130 kilos worth of weights. And the guy was rounded like this. It's just like, what happened? And he was so honest. He said, once I could bench 130, I just kind of lost all my motivation. It's just like, I could bench all the weights that I had. And I think about people regretting, I think go all in, speak to a professional to make sure you're not wasting your money, but get everything you need. Get everything you need so that it's a long-term investment and so that you can go back week after week and push and know that you can push in this home gym environment. That's going to be massive for motivation.
For sure. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So we're obviously both coaches. We've got lots of experience. It's cool that you have a degree as well. I think, like, what would you say if someone has a home gym and they've been very, very economical? They've gotten everything they need, but it's just what they need. They haven't done too much more. As a coach, and you hear that from someone, what do you think are some key aspects, or what are some things that you reaffirm with your clients who say, oh, look, I don't know, like, it's this home gym. I think I can get all the results, or even they're super confident, like, I can absolutely get results in my home gym. What are some things that we think as coaches are saying, well, as long as this, and this is in place, you're going to get results anywhere?
For sure. For me, it's all about habit and behavior. So if you aren't making a habit of going to the gym regularly or going to or doing some kind of movement or physical activity, just because you put it in your house doesn't mean you're magically going to start to do it. Unfortunately, it's not a silver bullet. It's not going to change anything unless you change your mindset, unless you change the way that you feel about it.
You're going to wake up on the treadmill. Like,
I'm just here. Exactly.
Level 6, okay.
And so you take away a lot of the inconvenience factor and a lot of the intimidation factor if you have a home gym. So I totally get that. These are all amazing things that the benefits of a home gym can really give you. But if you're not stacking your habits and behaviors, if you're not actioning them consistently, then it's just going to fall off. And what I mean by stacking habits is I've read a lot of books, to be fair, on behavior change. And the best habits are the ones that you do with other things. So a lot of my clients have trouble making exercise consistent because they change the time of the day that they exercise. Maybe sometimes they train in the morning and sometimes they'll train at lunch and sometimes they'll train in the evening. And unless you're super motivated, you haven't created like habit around it. It's not something that's just, I get up, I brush my teeth, and then I go to work. It's not something that becomes ritualized. And creating a home gym gives you a lot of space to create a new ritual, to create something that you do, if not every day, most days. And that's the power of the home gym, is starting to stack these habits. And even if you're not someone who wants to work out every day, I would say make the habit of getting in there every day and doing something, because now you're creating a habit and a ritual about utilizing that space. Even if you just go in there to lie down on the floor and do some breath work, even if you just go in there to foam roll, whatever it might be, and you're not actually engaging with any of the equipment, you're actually actively taking yourself out of whatever it is you're doing, and you're making that time for yourself consistently to create that change and create that behavior. because the hardest part, regardless of where you are, is still getting to the gym. Is still the hardest part. Doesn't matter if it's in your backyard or if it's in your garage. You could be sitting on the couch and it's 20 steps away. Guaranteed, if you're not making a habit out of it, you're not going to get off that couch and you're not going to use it. So that would be definitely one of the first things that I would talk about is how do you plan on implementing the usage of it? Because it's up to you at the end of the day. If you don't have a plan on how you plan to use it, well, you've just got a goal.
Yeah.
You can't reach your goal without a plan. And most people have a goal, but they just don't know how they're going to get there. They just kind of expect it to happen and expect, change to magically occur when they don't actually do anything different.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think one of the hardest things I found with a home gym was exactly what you said. Sitting on the couch. I'm 20 to 22 years old. I'm watching The Simpsons because, I grew up on The Simpsons. And now I got it's like 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 6:30 now. I said I was going to work out today. And prior to this, I was, as I said, staying shelves at Woolies or I was at uni. And I would just swing into the gym on the way to or way from. So when I was working at Woolies, if I did the early shift, I would just grab a coffee in the break room on my way out. And on my way out, I would get changed and get in the car and drive to my commercial gym. And boom, I'm there, like just stacking shelves, my eyes closed. I'm ready to go home. 20 minutes later, I'm warming up to squat hundreds of kilos. And it's that switch actually requires, as you said, like a routine. And when I actually first became a PT, suddenly my whole life is exercise and training and nutrition and planning. And it's not just for me. I'm now doing it for 30 something people. And I'm studying an exercise science degree. So I'm always thinking about it there. And I've got that kind of fatigue a little bit of it all. And again, then compounding that by being at home all day and I could just train whenever, it was actually really bad. It sounds great. It's like, oh, you can just train whenever. It's actually really bad. And what I found helped was the first thing I did was to have a pre-workout routine. So when I worked at Woolies, I would, have my coffee, get changed, get in the car and drive. If I was starting later, I would have my coffee, go to the gym, get changed, go to work. That was my two routines. There was always triggers to start getting my mind into that mindset of, okay, let's push. And so I think a really good, simple and very similar warm-up is a really great way to go. So for me, I would jog to the end of my street and back, which is about 500 meters. And then I'd have 4 activation exercises I would do. By the time I was done with the 4 activation exercises, I was in the zone. I was ready to go and ready to train. Whereas 20 minutes before, I was on the couch watching The Simpsons. And so I think if they set up a home gym, I think, as you said, habit stacking and saying, okay, this is the time I'm going to train. I'm going to get into my home gym every day. And another way to kind of kickstart that going is to just say, I'll just do the warm-up. I'll just do the warm-up. I'm now sitting at my desk working. I'm now watching the kids. I'm now watching TV. I now want to go and exercise. What can I do to shift that mindset? And I think people will find that if they have a very set, exact step, 3-step method, I put my gym clothes on. I go for a 5-minute jog or a 5 to 10 minute walk. I do exercise 1, 2, 3 on my gym floor. That helps prepare me for a workout. I think they'll start to realize that once they've done that warm up, and that's very little buy-in. It's 15 minutes. Once they've done that warm up, they're going to be like, yeah, let's do this. And I even say now to my clients, if you're coming home from work or it's early in the morning and you just don't feel like it, come down to the gym and just do the warm-up. And I swear to your coach, I will not bully you. I will not make fun of you if you go home after you've done the warm-up, because 9 times out of 10, if you've driven down here and done your warm-up, you're going to get this workout done, or at least you're going to get a good, massive chunk of it done. And so with the home gym, because you're at home and that psychology of relax or, looking after kids or your mind somewhere else, I think that habit of saying, okay, I'm going to work out, really don't feel like it. I'll just do this to get some blood flowing. I'll just do this to get some muscles firing. And you'll probably find that after that point, it's a great time to go and you'll be in the zone to train. And I also say to my clients, feel free to end it there, because if every time if you start this warm up, it's going to eventuate to doing the entire workout. probably going to put you off it. There has to be times where you finish and think, today is not my day. I still don't want to do this. And so just call it a day. Call it a day.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Come back tomorrow, try it again.
G'day, my name is Phil, and I wanted to share my experience with BRIXX Fitness after recently purchasing the 10 to 30 kilogram Hex dumbbell and rack set. These Hex dumbbells are on a completely different level. They're excellent quality, comparable to what you would find in a high-end gym. The rubber Hex ends are solid, and the grip feels great, whether you have big or small hands. The rack is just as impressive, very sturdy and more than capable of handling all the weights. It keeps everything organised and makes it so easy to grab what you need during a workout. My wife and I do a lot of circuit-style training, and having the dumbbells ready to go has been a game changer. No more wasting time adjusting weights between sets. We can just focus on our workout. I also want to give a shout out to the team at BRIXX. Ordering was super easy, and even though I placed my order over the Christmas period, everything arrived quickly. Their communication throughout the process was excellent, keeping me informed at every step of the way. If you're looking to upgrade your home gym, I can't recommend BRIXX Fitness enough. Their Hex dumbbells are a fantastic addition to any setup, and the service they provide makes the whole process seamless and stress-free, and at a really great price.
It's that empowerment piece as well. That's the huge thing with a home gym, is it empowers you to really take control over how you feel with your program on the day and how hard you want to go. And like you said, someday you might wake up and you can only actually get through the warm-up. And you know what? That's the day that you need to take the rest. That's the day that you shouldn't train. And it's really important to develop those habits to listen to your body. Just because you have the home gym doesn't mean you need to train 7 days a week. But movement 7 days a week isn't a bad thing. And so it's about, again, understanding those peaks and those troughs of your body, and understanding, okay, yeah, I feel good today. I'm going to push. I'm going to knuckle that workout so loud. I'm just going to hit it. And other days you're not going to feel that. And you might go, okay, I feel better after the warm up, but I still don't feel great. I'm just going to do one set of everything. Because you know what? One set of everything is great for muscle maintenance. It's going to get my brain firing. It's going to get blood flow. And I'm good. Like, that's enough load and enough intensity for me today. And I'll just do that. And that's 10 times better than if you just sat on the couch, or probably just sat there and did work, because we know that that's what's going to happen more than likely, or scroll. And it's just 10 times better. So I wholeheartedly agree with that. The rituals that you create in your life are what is behavior change.
Yeah.
I saw something written the other day was, if someone followed you around for a week, could they tell that you were working towards your goals? And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty powerful. And that's a really nice way to think about it as well.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's a good one as someone who's self-employed. Right? Because that's the thing. Because that can be the thing where when you're self-employed, it can go both ways. You can think, yeah, I'm crushing, I'm doing everything that I can right now, and someone might follow you around for a week and think, buddy, you're doing a lot, but you're not really getting anywhere. That is the history of my career. That is the history of my career. It wasn't until I really got staff members, I had that other person that I had to be preparing for, that really it kicked me into gear, thinking, how can I maximize my time?
Very
but
cool.
on the other end, yeah, for sure, there has been some goals in my life that I've set, and then if you follow me around for a week, you're like, you setting those goals, Matthew? You setting those goals? So yeah, I really like that. I'm gonna actually probably take that on myself. If someone followed me for a week, could they identify, I guess, what goals that I'm chasing?
Yeah. And obviously, like, again, you can't do that all year, or maybe your goals fluctuate through the year. But if you're working towards something pretty specific, you should be able to see that, right?
Yeah. And coming back to what we were saying before about the letting a workout go, the other one big thing that I really cement in a lot of my clients is about like just the power of the routine. Because what I think some people like one of the things I found really quite difficult when I first got into the industry was actually be able to relate to some of my clients. When I was 14, I just started running. I did cross country and played sports before that. When I was 14, I just started running. And then at 16, I joined the gym, and that's it. I've exercised my entire life. And I think when I got my first few clients, I remember thinking like, you haven't exercised in years? Did you say years? They're like, oh yeah, years. I'm like, oh shit. And I had a really tough time getting these people to make it a part of their habit, routine and stuff. And on those days where you don't feel like working out and you do that little routine that we spoke about in the warm up, and then you call it there for the day. One thing to keep in your mind, if you're listening, is that is a workout. It might not be the workout that you were planning on doing, but that is a workout. You've dedicated a portion of your day to look after yourself physically, and I would argue mentally too. And tomorrow it's going to be easier to get back into that and do the workout that you hoped you had done, or at least tomorrow's workout. If you let them go, if you let those days tick by, if you get a couple of weeks without doing even just a small amount, suddenly it feels like you've got this colossal mountain. I haven't done anything for weeks, and the workouts I was doing this big, I just don't know if I can do that right now. There are so many steps between the two. As coaches, we're progressing and regressing people all the time. And so keeping that habit, and if you've got a home gym, I think it can be difficult to keep that motivation when you're at home and to break that routine. So yeah, the habit stacking and the routine is going to make it a real big help of getting out of what you're doing right here in your home and getting into your garage, I assume, and getting a home gym workout done.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. All right. So we've talked to, unfortunately for our listeners, we haven't really said go out and buy a BRIXX barbell.
I would recommend a barbell.
Of course, a barbell.
Wholeheartedly recommend a barbell.
If we had to generalize, we're taking the top survey says we've taken 100 people from Australia who are looking to get into fitness. What is, say, 3 pieces of equipment that you would be like, look, definitely go buy this?
Mine might be a little different personally. I think one of the most underrated things in your home gym is a little bit of space, like a little bit of floor space.
Nice.
Yep. I think that's one of the most underrated things. But I would definitely get a squat rack, power rack, something where I could hang, something where I could move like a barbell up and down, or attach something so that I could, hang and push off as well, right? So that to me is super important. I think that's it's such an easy way to build strength absolutely everywhere. It works really well. I also love bands in terms of just like different thickness bands. With all my athletic training, I'm an ex-gymnast. We move in lots of different ways, lots of 3 dimensions. This is where the creativity piece comes in, because sometimes it can be really tricky to utilize these if you're not used to them. But you can create some pretty insane resistance with these bands, doing a whole bunch of, and again, you move them up and down on the rack, just handles and ankle straps. They're incredible. I absolutely love that. And, like dumbbells are always, for me, like they're always so important. But if you didn't have the space or the capability, I would definitely go the bands over investing in a lot of heavy dumbbells, because obviously it's a lot cheaper, and you can still do quite a lot with them. I think if you're looking on the cheaper end of the scale, invest in a skipping rope. If you don't like cardio, like it's a skill that you're going to teach yourself. It's great for your brain. It's great for your cardio. It's completely underrated. Way easier to pick up your skipping rope than it is to buy a huge piece of equipment of cardio that potentially, again, you don't use. If you're not using your skipping rope, you haven't spent, X thousands of dollars for it to collect dust. You spent like maybe $50 and you haven't used it. So, the cost benefit there, I think, is a little different. But those to me are the ones that if you're looking at engaging in a home gym, those are your staples, and they're staples for a reason. Like, we've been using barbells and dumbbells as weights for thousands of years as humans. Like, it's not complicated. You just got to pick something up and put it back down again, and it's like the formula's there for a reason. So you don't really need to mess with it. But yeah, for me, because I like to move my body, I like to do calisthenics. I like, a lot of body weight movement. Space is an underrated commodity because then I can use the floor, I can hang my rings, and I can utilize a wall for movement as well. So I think also when you're looking at your home gym space, like, can you move in there, or have you got so much equipment crammed in there that like you feel really cramped and claustrophobic and it just feels too much?
Yeah, I agree. I think space is a big factor. Personally, it's used similar to relax. Also used somewhere to stretch, somewhere to rest, somewhere to bring a buddy in if you want. Yeah, I think space is definitely a massive one as well. I'm a purist. I think a squat rack or a power rack, a barbell, plenty of plates. Don't buy two 20-kilo plates. Buy two 10s and two 5s. You've got 90 kilos worth of weights there. You'd be surprised at how quickly you can build up to use 90 kilos. So buy at least 100 kilos, maybe 140 kilos worth of plates. And so you've got a good range there. And then I would also actually recommend a landmine attachment. They take
Love
up
a
very,
landmine.
very, very little space, but there is actually a lot you can do with a landmine attachment that complements a power rack a lot. So in my gym, every power rack, or every squat rack, has a landmine attachment down the bottom. So if we're doing barbell back squats, the next one, I want to do a single leg posterior variation, landmine RDLs, And so I can now take that barbell, pop it down there and do landmine RDLs. Vice versa, I can do barbell Romanian deadlifts, and then I can use my landmine for some sort of lunge variation. It's also fantastic for core, especially if you're moving in that what we call transitional plane, where you're moving left to right. I think a lot of people don't realize that how much that actually benefits the strength of your hips and your lower back, being able to rotate under load. So a landmine can really help with that. And that's going to be really great to help with the single leg variations and the landmines as well. If you're someone who wants to build up some glutes, I have had this fantastic success using a landmine, such as landmine RDLs, such as really deep, where front-loaded goblet squats. Single leg hip thrusts from a landmine are also a fantastic way to isolate and load up the glutes too. So I think a power rack with a landmine and a barbell and a bunch of weights is really going to get the big movements, your bang for buck there. And then dumbbells. Now, I haven't personally used adjustable dumbbells, but I can see why some people would like them for personal use. I think I would never put them in my gym. I don't want my clients there clicking and clacking, trying to change these dumbbells around. But I think for personal use in your own gym, there could be some benefit there as well. And it would save you a lot of money instead of spending, I think back in 2015, I spent $2,400 on my dumbbells from like 1 to 50. But if you have, up to 30 kilo adjustable dumbbells and you see that you're in the gym for 6 months and you work up to that 30, then you decide to invest in a full rack of dumbbells, that's probably a smarter investment there. And you can just sell that adjustable one from there. But I think dumbbells are essential across a part of a gym equipment too. And then a bench I would actually recommend 2 benches. I would recommend one that goes up into an incline and then a solid own flat bench. Because that flat bench you can slide into your power rack and use for bench pressing, obviously. And that I find that's going to give you a lot more stability, especially if you're a big guy, say, it's going to give you a lot more stability. I find some of those incline ones, if I use them for barbell bench press, I find they're just a little unstable. Fantastic for dumbbell work, fantastic, but I actually prefer a much more sturdy flat dumbbell and flat bench. And also the flat bench can then double for something you can step up on. So if you're doing, say, step ups, step downs, things like that, I think a really sturdy flat bench can be great for that. Whereas the inclines, they tend to be a bit thinner, a little bit not as strong because they've got to be able to adjust. So I would say benches, a flat and an incline, dumbbells, whether they be adjustable or just the traditional dumbbells, power rack and a squat rack with a landmine attachment and some weights. And I think you're going to make some great progress, especially if you back it up with a coach who's there to help you out.
For sure.
Okay, let's give our listeners one last piece of advice. So they've set up a home gym and they've set up for their goals. What do you think? What's the piece of advice they're going forward to maximize this home gym they've just invested in?
one piece of advice is to remember why. Why are you doing it? What's it important for? And to keep that why front of mind and personal as well. It's not a stick to beat you with. It's a reminder that this is important to you. And I think that we're really good at keeping promises to everyone else, but we are generally the first people to break promises to ourselves. And that really doesn't make sense if you think about it, because, you'd never let your friend down, or you'd never let your partner down, or whoever it might be. And you would feel terrible if you did. So why do you do it to yourself? Why do you not keep your promises to yourself? Why do you forget your why behind why you're doing it? So just having that kind of constant reminder and remind yourself in a multitude of different ways, have something fun or beautiful in your gym, or, make it a part of your personality that, so that you really love it as well. It's not just a bunch of equipment.
Make it yours.
Exactly. Lying in the corner.
Yeah. I would say mine's, I guess, the same. Once you decided your why am I doing this? Why have I set up a home gym? What is my motivation? What would I like to achieve? Blah, blah, blah. I would then say the who, what, when. Who's going to help you? Who are you going to reach out to and say, hey, I'm thinking about undertaking this project, or I have undertaken this project. I'm looking to maximize it or expand on it. Who? Obviously a coach, someone you think has a good reputation, a lot of social proof. They've got a lot of evidence on their business of working with clients with your goals as well. The what. So what are your goals? Coming back to the why. What type of training are we going to be doing? What does that look like? And then the when. When am I going to use this gym, and how am I going to make sure that I am using it when I say I am going to use it? I think that'd be my advice. The who, what, and when behind your why. Yeah.
Nice.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, if you are looking to get to any home gym equipment, obviously BRIXX is absolutely stacked full of gym equipment, and they can get it out to you very, very quickly. And the consultants there will absolutely be able to help you out, customize your order for what you need. You don't need the biggest, flashiest setup to get strong, to feel better, and stay consistent. I think you just need the right tools and a plan that fits your life. And if today's episode helped clear that confusion, let us know and start building a home gym that you will actually use. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast, Vanessa. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. Have a great day.
See ya.
See ya.